and, so on and so forth, a light fixture. So, it's our job to control those costs for you guys, but the only thing that would cause an escalation in cost would be something unforeseen out there, something that caused quantities to go up. So just want to touch on that. And then it's a liquidated damages contract, $3,000 a day, past November 2024. Sorry. All right. So these are some visualizations that our group put together for you guys. And it's a combination of what's out there today and then what will be out there when this job is complete. Here you see ramp A. Here you see Toyota Field, obviously, but out there today is ramp A. There's ramp B. Here's 565. Here's Madison Boulevard, and then here where you see the darker colors, that's what will be there when our project is constructed. You see the other ramps here, decel lanes here, in here. It's a 3-level interchange. All this is surface streets, this is second level, and this is third level, fully directional access controlled. Here's another view. This is, looking, I guess, kind of towards where we are today. Just another view, right? Nothing, kind of repetitive there. Here's a really good view coming up, the existing ramp A. So all this is constructed. This is the ramp D, which will access 565 westbound, outbound. MSE walls, lighting. There's 3 different kinds of lighting on the project. There's standard roadway lighting, ground-mounted lighting. There'll be barrier wall lighting, and then you see these. Well, I'm sorry, that's cell tower. You see those. Those are high-mast interchange lighting. So it'll be fully, LED lit.
So I notice you have lighting on the current ramp as well. Is that part of the scope of this project as well?
The basis for those lightings and the conduits were put in the previous project, the ramp AB project, but the actual fixtures and posts will be put in this project.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Here's another view. So Toyota Field would be here to your left. So, this is ramp A. One thing to notice here is this project is a combination of steel and concrete girders, the brown ones, and girders are the support system for the deck, right? I mean, you got your columns that come up, which we call vents, and then the girders are the beams that go longitudinally that support the deck. So in this picture, these are steel, the brown ones are steel, and these are concrete, and then these are obviously the supporting structures associated with them. Here's another image. This is looking back towards Toyota Field. Here's the existing rock cut here. And we'll touch on that in just a little bit. But all this rock cut was done. This used to be a ridge. All this rock cut was done during the ALDOT project where 565 was constructed. And again, here's your steel and concrete girders. And here's another one. This one would be standing at the top of the rock cut. Same type things, right? 565 eastbound. Westbound, 3 lanes in each direction. All right, so what makes your project unique? I know it doesn't feel like it, but you guys are blazing a trail when it comes to the way this project was set up to be funded. It's built on y'all's or the cooperative district's property. It's built with y'all's money, and eventually it'll be turned over to ALDOT for maintenance. That's the first project of this type in the state that's been done that way. There are some smaller projects, landscaping projects, permit projects, turn lane projects that are done that way, but this is unique in this state, never been done, and I've had several people say that they think this is the way projects will be handled in the future with, the limitations of funding and the cooperation between, you guys and ALDOT and FHWA. It's a tight curvature bridge project. I'll show you a little bit more about it in just a second, but the curves on the steel portions of the bridges are very, very tight. Auburn University is doing research during the construction of this project with you guys' permission, and they're going to install strain gauges on the girders as they're constructed, and then watch and study how the bridge moves under load. And they've been waiting on this project for 3 years, and it should be really good outcome as far as usable. The walls are unique. MSC walls, you guys have got a lot of these, I guess I'm more at Parkway up here, you know, they're walls, they're supported by, rock backfill, and then the friction, you know, the tie back straps, that's relatively unique. The existing geotechnical conditions in there, I'll touch on this a little more in just a second, but as I talked about, you know, when AlDOT built 565, they blasted all that rock out and pushed it into the fill, you know, around that cut. It makes decent roadway fill, but it does not make a good foundation for bridges. So now we're having to mitigate that with various foundations, and you know, that's the next bullet, and I'll show you on some subsequent slides. But there are all kinds of foundations out here. We've got drill shafts, which are drilled, socketed into rock, and we've got driven piles, which are the steel H piles that you see on roadway construction, where they're driving them with a pile hammer. And then we've got spread footings, which would be built over something that's just not suitable, so it's just a pad, and then the bridge is built on top of it. So it's pretty unique. It runs the cost up considerably, but unfortunately, it's what we've got on this project. And then impacts of traffic along 565. A lot of thought went into the traffic control associated with this project. We studied traffic patterns, and everything we do out there is meant to minimize the impact to the traveling public, from work around the holidays to work around rush hour. There'll be time during construction where we will have a detour. There'll be complete shutdown of the roadway. It'll be at night, and it'll be when the girders are being cast across the interstate. So all this got to be coordinated with you guys, with your police department. And for instance, today I got out there about 4:15, and the contractor's not supposed to work after 3 o'clock with the rush hour. At 4:15, he still had one lane westbound closed, and it was due to a unforeseen thing with a crane, and so they had traffic shut down past 3, and we worked with them on that. Another example is starting Monday, we'll be working with you guys to get some press releases. We'll have some blasting out there, and it'll be a rolling lane closures. So we'll have, you know, police out there, shut the interstate down both ways, blast, and probably shoot rock onto the roadway, clean it up, and then get out of the roadway. That'll probably be between 1 and 3 o'clock, Monday through next Wednesday or Thursday, but we're still working through that, and we'll get with you guys, communication people, on how that should be communicated.
Yeah, I had some questions because we had gotten some press releases this week that was going to happen, and people were wondering why it was delayed.
That was the result of a communication between a subcontractor to the prime contractor, the blasting subcontractor, a conversation he had with your police department, and I think some people just got ahead of themselves. You know, no harm, no foul, but AlDOT became aware of it on Saturday and reached out to me, and so, you know, no big deal. We'll learn from it, but all communication really needs to come to us, and we talked to the contractor as well about that. It needs to come through us to you guys and to AlDOT, because it's their facility, right? And they're very sensitive to closures and lane closures, whatever. And so we think we mitigated that, and we think we're good going forward.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And then production and fabrication. So, you know, you drive out there today, and there's some drill shafts going in, there's some work, but there's also work going on in South Carolina, in Pelham, Alabama, and in Georgia on the wall panels, the steel girders, the concrete girders. You know, they're all being fabricated, they're all being inspected as they're fabricating. So there, you know, there's a lot going on behind the scenes, and then they'll start showing up, but it'll start going up like a Lincoln log set, right? It'll just start going up. So those kind of things that I thought we'd point out as far as, you know, unique to your project. You know, here's pictures today. You know, Toyota Field will be over here. You know, these are drill shafts going in, so these are the ones that are socketed into rock. And so they've already been drilled into rock, and then these are the forms, and they're coming up, you know, with the columns for the bridge supports. Here's the forms for that, and you can see all these were poured today. So they poured, I don't know, about, I think 20 yards of concrete this morning, and so the forms will be broken later this week. They'll do some more pouring on Friday. And then here is, so I'm looking towards Huntsville. So if you've been out there recently, we've already shifted traffic a little bit, and we've already got traffic control up against the interstate in the form of portable barriers, barricades, and they're just getting some stone in there so they can get in and out of the work zone. So, how much time do I have? What time is it?
You're okay, Finn?
You're fine.
So what'll make this project successful? It's all about communication. I mean, we have a prime, we have 8 subs, We have you guys, the project owner, we've got AlDOT, we've got FHWA, they could show up any second, inspect our records. We've got the city of Huntsville that maintains the lights out there, so there's a lot of moving parts, and we've got to communicate early and often, and we think we've got the channels set up to do that. As I mentioned earlier, we have to manage the quantities and manage the opportunity for supplemental agreements. We can't get into a situation where we're just hemorrhaging money, so that's our job, and that's what we're doing for you guys. And lesson learned from phase one. Phase one of this was the first phase of this project that was the first of these project types, so we learned a lot during that, and we learned that AlDOT wants constant communication. So we're having bi-weekly meetings with them and your staff, talking about what's going on, seeing if they have questions, issues, because they're driving by there every day, right? And they see things, they ask questions, and we just want to make sure that they're up to date, because in the end, they're going to own this. And if it gets down to a point to where they're about to own it and they've got a problem and it's in a foundation where we've got bridge sitting on top of it, we've got a problem. So we're doing all we can there, to make sure that that's being taken care of. The other lesson we learned from phase one was the geotechnical things that I talked about earlier. There's a lot of unknowns associated with the geotech out there, and we're managing those daily and managing the costs associated with it. So we learned some lessons there. And then good record keeping, management, and closeout. Like I said, AlDOT and FHWA will not accept this. It's like buying a house, right? You have a final punch list, and they're going to have punch lists. And we've got to have the records of everything, and so we learned that on the previous phase. And then I'll touch on communication and coordination again. So.
Do they sign off along the way? I mean, or is it just like
no?
You get to the end and they're like, hey, the foundations. I mean, naturally we're going to have that information. I mean, we'll be fine, but there's no them signing off along the way where we can go back and you said.
No, there's not, and that's the risk, right? I mean,
okay.
Everything we do out there, we break cylinders. Every piece of steel is tested. Every link of guardrail is tested by a standard specification that is AlDOT specs. And so we have all those records, so if there was a question, we have to go back and produce those. But no, they do not sign off along the way. We try to get them as involved as we possibly can just to get buy-in along the way. And that's what those bi-weekly meetings are about. And they reserve the right to show up at any time. And believe me, on the previous project, they were not afraid to show up. So we're trying to manage that as we go. And most state projects, or y'all's projects as well with state or federal money, we have to close it out, and it involves submitting everything to them. On phase one, they said, we're just going to take y'all's word for it. AECOM's word for it that it's good. And so they didn't want any records and never looked at a single record. They walked around a lot, but they never looked at a single record. This was going to be different. This is a different project. There's a lot of risk associated with it. So this is going to be different. So no, they do not buy off along the way, but we welcome them to. You
mentioned testing. You test on site with, or it sounded like you said they test on site with the strength of the material and those things. Do you also test at the manufacturer before it comes here, or the supplier?
Absolutely. So lighting items, bridge girders, wall panels, those will be tested, and all the production will be washed at the production facility, either by an AECOM employee or a state employee.
Okay.
At the concrete girder plant in Pelham, those will be state employees. We'll probably have somebody in the steel fabrication facility in South Carolina. They watch all the welds, they test them. So, yes, bolts are tested. Everything is tested on a state or federal aid project, which is what this project is being treated as.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Originally, when you were communicating the need for blasting, we were told morning and afternoon blasting, but now you're telling us it's just going to happen from 1 to 3?
We were told today it was going to be 1 to 3. They're still working through it. The blaster delivered some equipment out there today and did some test holes, just trying to figure out what they were up against. It's the same blasting contractor that blasted on ramp A previously, so we feel like they've got their arms around it. But right now we're thinking it's just between 1 and 3, but it could be morning, but not peak hours, like between 9 and 11 and 1 and 3. But we'll have more detail on that, and that'll be in the communication with you guys. We're in touch with your communications people, and they're handling that, and that'll be consistent with the AlDOT message as well with Seth.
And I think that's where you kept reading the city will. It's not the city that's doing it. They're managing the project, And so they'll tell us, and then again, I think the feedback that was given was, man, if you're gonna do it around 4 o'clock, it's not helping us at all.
Correct.
What you're saying is music to our ears as far as non-rush hour traffic,
Correct.
but still get it done.
And things are gonna happen, right, in construction, like today out there. Luckily, there was no backup. We got it out of the road by 4:15, and that was something that just happened. It wasn't foreseen, and things happen, but we attempt to manage that. So it's not to say things aren't gonna happen. You know, we just finished one in Decatur that things happen, and, contractors push the limit, and that's what they do. So we do all we can to manage that.
And you're thinking it'll take about a week total, like all of next week, or will it be longer than that?
They haven't told us yet. I think it'll be some blasting, and then maybe they'll go away and then come back. So it's a moving part. And I think those test holes today will have a bearing on those decisions. Hopefully it's 3 or 4 days and it's over. So just to minimize the impacts, obviously, so.
In terms of managing this project, how often are you meeting with our city engineer or our personnel in terms of updating them on what's happening?
I'm updating Steve and Michael continually. You know, we had something come up out there yesterday that we communicated on. So, we've been doing this a little while, so we know when AlDOT needs to be involved, we know when these guys need to be involved, so we're trying to do what we need to do, and at the same time, keeping them up to date. So we're communicating with them continually, whether it be emails, just FYI. You know, the one yesterday was an FYI. There was no real action. We were dealing with AlDOT on something, but we just thought they needed to be aware of it. So we're communicating with them continually.
Okay, but you don't have like a set every 2 weeks or any kind of meeting that you're giving updates, or it's just constant, or?
It's constant, but they're invited to the every 2-week meeting with AlDOT as well.
Okay,
We had that meeting this morning, at 10 o'clock, I believe, and they were invited to that, and there were probably 5 of our people, 2 of y'all's people, and there were a couple of AlDOT people on there this morning, so.
where does that meeting occur?
It's a virtual meeting. We have a webinar, and we just, we show pictures if we have to, but it's a virtual meeting.
Okay.
I'm not interested in micromanaging, but how often will the city council be apprised of the updates? Every 2 weeks also, or a month? What can we expect?
It's up to you guys. I mean, we are working for you guys, so we can do whatever you guys think is appropriate, whether it be just, an email to you guys saying, here's what's going on out there, if you got any questions, call me, or, it's up to you guys.
We'll find the right balance as far
And
as,
it's
we wanna
gonna
make
get a
sure we had
little-
this one, so expectations were set, everybody knows kind of what's going on, and then we'll try to figure out when a good time frame is on keeping, having a meeting like this to just kind of talk about progress.
It's gonna get
We
a
have,
little,
just so you know, we had an MPO meeting today where they come in and basically they give an update on every MPO project, and that's on a quarterly basis, so you're constantly kept up to what's going on and how far along they've gotten, 30%, 50%, 90%, and so forth. So that's what AlDOT does. It probably makes sense to do something along those lines.
absolutely. And I had a couple more slides I was gonna show if we had time, but we'll show them next time, just some more detail, just some engineering stuff. that you
I
guys
wanna
will
see
probably-
your
I'd like to
slides.
see them.
Okay. Can you guys, pull up the plan set PDFs if you would?
And we'll have these slides available, won't we, on our webpage after our work session for
I
this
can
presentation?
send them to you guys or whatever's fine.
Okay.
That would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Plan set PDF would be great, and I don't know if I can, and so this is not, it's obviously small text, but,
Yeah, that's way in the weeds.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
way,
that's
that's not,
way in the weeds, but
you
I'll
just
just
manage
mention it.
traffic for us, would you?
yeah, I'll mention a few things real quickly. So this is a plan set that was, I think, 370-something plan sheets. This is just a couple of them. So this is what I was talking about here, the contractor language that talks about when he can and cannot close lanes, holidays, so on and so forth. Here's more of it, right? I mean, this tells him when he can build on what side of the roadway and what he can build. Now, he can vary from it if we approve it, but just don't think the contractors out there just run around doing things. It's very much regulated. Here's the detour. So this is, I believe, Wall Triana. You'll have to remind me what this one is. 255.
You probably-
Dirt and Wall Triana.
Triana and Zert.
Yeah, so, here's the work zone. When we're putting girders across the interstate, this will be the detour. It'll be on y'all's roads, it'll be on Madison Boulevard. We've looked at the nighttime traffic, we don't think we'll have to reface signals. It'll be, I think, between 9 PM and, 9 PM and 4 AM, so it'll be heavily regulated, so there'll be lots of press release go out, but that's what the, both the, on-site detours or, off-site detours will look like. This is kind of a slide just showing the curvature of the bridges. You know, we talked about it's a unique due to the nature of the bridges and the curvature. Here's the steel girders, here's the concrete girders, and here as well. It's a little tough to read, but this is meant to show the, you know, the different foundation types. So here's some driven piles on the bridge ends. These are the steel H piles, driven, you know, just steel H piles driven to a refusal. Here's a pad foundation in the median of 565. It's just a big concrete pad with the bridge built on top of it. Here are these two are drill shafts, meaning they're socketed into rock. And then this one, here's a combination pad and, you know, drill shafts. So here's a cross-section of the steel portion of the bridges with all the lateral bracing. You can see the super elevation here. So it's if you're coming to the development from 565 westbound, you know, you're going around a curve, so the roadway's super elevated. So that just kind of shows some of the steel bracing. And this was really just kind of to show the detail. I mean, this is just one of the bents. This is what the bridge sits on top of. This is all the steel reinforcement, and so it's just kind of to show the level of detail that the design is. And then here's the spread footing that I talked about that's in the median. You know, here's the pad it sits on top of, and this is being built in between traffic lanes. So this will be in the median with 565 traffic going both directions. And at this point, traffic will be shifted outward.
That'll be fun.
And this isn't going to show real good, but this is a soil boring that was done on one location prior to the project being designed. And this is at one of the bridge bents. Here you see just loose stone, and these are voids. All the blank areas like here, these are voids.
Where's, is that throughout the project, or is it a certain part? I'd imagine maybe middle of the 565.
It honestly comes and goes. You could go out there with a shovel today and dig a hole here and hit solid limestone in 2 feet, and you could go 5 feet that way and run into this.
Is that where they backfilled?
Some of it's where it backfilled, some of it is just the way it is. It's just a very unique geology out there, so, you know, this slide was kind of meant to show that, right? These are just voids where something happened and something got stacked on top of it, and it's just a void. So that's areas where we're having to drive to a refusal or pour a pad on top of it.
Is that where y'all cored it, and you found that? Got it. Okay.
And then that's a longitudinal view of one of the walls. So here's ramp C. It's got the walls on both sides. And that's just a longitudinal view of the height of the wall. And then these are roadway cross-sections. So if you're looking at a cross-section of the roadway, this is showing proposed and existing roadway. So here's 565. Here's the elevated section along ramp C. So traffic will be up here 2 lanes. And this hatch section is an area that we're taking everything out. So there's nothing suitable to build the walls and the roadway on top of, so everything's coming out. And it'll be backfilled with a lightweight stone. And that's what a lot of the cost is on this job. It's expensive to bring in, and with fuel prices and all. So I thought that was kind of an interesting slide. I wanted to show you guys that. And I believe that is it. I had one schedule slide, but it's too hard to read and no reason to go into it. But it kind of shows all the fabrication and when we go from fabrication to production, and shows a schedule for, you know, there it is there. It's, you know, that horizontal dark line is kind of the break line between fabrication, which is all this. You know, even though we're sitting right here today and there's some work going on in the field, this is really when all the big field work starts with the wall panels being delivered and the.
So when is that the big work will start?
This?
Yes.
Tomorrow.
We're probably 3 months out. On some of it starting. You know, the wall panels will come first, and then, you know, all the bridge stuff will come later. But in the meantime, you'll still see columns coming up. You'll see abutments coming up on the bridge ends and dirt work going on out there.
How often do y'all provide status on that, and do you, define the critical path on it and everything, so you know what you need to worry about, what you don't?
That's the contractor's responsibility. They provide the schedule, we look at it and approve it, and,
Right.
you know, we're just your second set of eyes on it, but if there's something that happens that's critical path that is, has potential for holding up the job, that's their problem. It's a calendar day contract, 670 calendar days, and the schedule is their responsibility. It's not really ours. We're just kind of,
Yeah.
in some respects, along for the ride.
So let me ask probably a dumb question. How do you define a calendar day? 'Cause let's say like tomorrow, right, you got inclement weather.
Different.
Schools have decided to, at least I think last I heard was they decided to close for tomorrow.
Sure. Yeah, we do projects of this type in this state two ways. We either have a working day agreement, which is what this is, 670, I'm sorry, calendar day agreement, 670, which is calendar days, right? 365 calendar days is 1 year.
Okay.
A working day contract would be if he can't work on critical path items, whether it be weather or whatever, he isn't charged a day.
Okay.
On jobs like this where, there's a lot riding on it and you guys are looking to get traffic to the development, we generally do it calendar days and put the risk on him as opposed to all the things that could go into a working day contract. So
Okay.
that was part of the build up to it, was to do it calendar days.
All right, so y'all are hoping for good, dry weather.
Yes,
Right.
but that's generally his issue, right? And this
Yeah.
This job is not a big dirt moving job where you're looking at a lot of weather delays.
Yeah.
Once you get kinda up out of the ground, it's all up out of the dirt, so it's, weather's not gonna be hugely critical on this project.
Okay.
We added days up front because we pushed the contract back. We added days to their original contract up front anyway, just for that very reason.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we got some pushback from the contractors and, it was a back and forth, and so we added some days, during the negotiation, or during the bid phase.
That's right.
Okay.
Mayor, I wanted to ask, do you think we can use the digital signs on the shoulder of the road to let the motorists know when blasting's gonna occur for those that might be not getting our text emails and texts or emails?
You guys have signs or?
Digital signs
The
to,
contractor has some use of digital signage that's in his agreement, so we do have some available.
that would be really critically good to have, especially during blasting when lanes are gonna be closed.
Sure, absolutely, yeah.
That would be great. You think that would be possible for next week? Do you have enough time for that?
We can
Let
check into
folks
it. I mean,
know.
these are, y'all own these signs, is that correct?
We own signs, yeah.
Okay, yeah. That's something that we can check into and
Oh,
see if
I
we
was
can make that
thinking
happen.
does your contractor have signs though too?
I'm 90% sure he does,
Okay.
but I have to check. There were
Yeah.
signs out there today, but I
Okay.
think they were associated with another project. They were
Right,
flashing a message. and,
Right, we have Ready Fest coming up in a couple of weeks, and we were gonna use those signs, right, I think, and, but if we need, I'd rather have them on 565 to let folks know, to be aware that lanes are gonna be closed than I would for the Ready Fest project.
Yeah, it's a little, if you're going through there at 65 miles an hour and you see lanes are gonna be closed, that's a big message to get on
Yeah.
a message board.
Okay.
And it's,
We're gonna let them manage it.
Okay.
That's why we paid them for it.
Oh, I know.
I know.
I just
Yeah.
know that not everybody gets a text or email.
I think the average traveling public is gonna see expect lane closures tomorrow for blasting. I think they're gonna go, oh my goodness, do I need to leave an hour early? And that's just not the case. They
Okay.
could email blast or a Facebook post or a press release that goes on AL.com would be a lot more effective, but we'll definitely look into that.
Just an idea, really.
Sure,
Yeah.
absolutely.
One question.
You got one question?
So can you show the top version of where that eastbound ramp's coming in?
You go back to the slideshow, it's probably like slide 6 or 7. Was it the aerial view?
I'm just trying to figure out where it comes, well, go back one maybe.
Go back one. That one?
Yeah, so that road, where does it enter into the interstate? I can see that
This one?
the ramp, the other one.
This one?
Yeah, I can see that the ramp ends right there.
Yeah.
Looks like right by Denver Mattress.
Well, that's where the ramp ends, but I don't know how far that road comes down before it merges
Oh, I
back
see.
in.
How far down towards
Yeah, 'cause
Waltrana?
you don't want to merge in right by that bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you're still on wall section here, so I would guess it's, 3,500 feet from the end of that wall to where the end of the XL decel lane will taper out.
You know that bridge that I'm talking about? How far back from,
I'm speaking from memory, but I think you're around 1,000 feet short of that next bridge on 565.
okay.
Is that
That's-
Intergraph Way you're talking about?
Well, it's the bridge that goes over, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
There's another one between there and Intergraph Way.
Yeah.
So it's entering in right about where the brick company is.
Correct, but all those
Mhm.
all those links, those Excel decel lanes and the decisions associated with that were built into the design to state and federal standards, so we should be good there.
Yeah, I can't design it, I was just curious.
Yeah.
How close is that then to the Waltriana exit itself?
Just speaking from memory, it's, as far as right here, you know, what are we, a mile and a half, 2 miles maybe?
Hughes Road is a mile, just so you know. Hughes Road is a mile.
Anything else?
No, thank you very much. I really appreciated
Absolutely,
the detail that you went into and
absolutely.
to
Thank you.
educate the public. Thank you.
Let us know if you need copies of this stuff. It looks like you guys have got it, but,
We do.
let us know what we can do. Thank you, absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, next, we have Lee Builders with the community center update.
I had a couple of guys from Lee Builders, they both had conflicts tonight, one had to go out of town unexpectedly, and another one had a family issue to deal with, so sorry you're stuck with me.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So update on, the community center, of course, you guys know we had a wall break-in, Madison's first ever wall break-in on January 31st, 2 weeks ago. If you go by there now, you'll see that there's construction fencing around the, facility with gates on each drive. They've been busy, they've got all necessary permits, they've got their demo permit, the building permit, the ADM permit. A lot of the fencing that's connected to the building's already come down. They've removed all the plumbing fixtures on the inside. They've been disconnecting all the electrical units, HVAC generator, they've both been disconnected. There was some HVAC units that were still in good shape, so we have held on to those so we can, repurpose them. And Corey's gonna move the generator from the community center over to Dublin Park. Today, they's out there working on the, kitchen, demolishing the kitchen. And then they got one other room to demolish, then they're gonna start working on each wing. Each wing is gonna take about 20 to 25 days to demo. And they'll start on the, like the senior center wing. They'll demo that, move on to the next one, so they'll do all 4 wings. And then they'll move out to the, outside building to demo that as well. So that's gonna be what they're gonna be doing for the next 3 to 4 months. And after the demo, they're gonna start doing some steel structures where they're gonna widen the windows and, get the windows knocked out, then they'll start work on the inside. So that's our short update. We do meet with them guys every 2 weeks, since you guys have noticed last week on the, update, and we'll continue to do that every 2 weeks, so. Any questions?
Appreciate that update.
Okay, thanks.
And we'll get them back in again, I won't say quarterly, but, you know, once they maybe move to that next stage of getting through everything in the first one, then we'll bring them back in and update it again.
Okay, great. All right, next on the agenda is the CIP list.
All right, so Chris, can you bring up that spreadsheet, please, the one that I just sent you guys? All right, so let's see, yep, is this it? Yep. All right, so guys, we had sent this out, to the council yesterday morning. So what I want to do, just maybe to reset, is we, at the end of last year, we worked with department heads, council, the mayor's office, and asked for your list of CIP projects, or projects, I don't know if it'd be CIP, but projects that we needed to put on the short term, looking to see what we could do, put that all list together, and then we started working with each respective department on the game plan on accomplishing it. Many of these had some funding in the FY '23 budget. As a matter of fact, out of all these projects, right now there's about $2 million, a little under 200,000 of money that is already in our current budget, moving a lot of these projects forward, in some instances completing these projects. What we also then did is work with engineering, planning, whoever it might be, to say, okay, if we needed to, the perfect example is the first 3 projects on this list. Hughes and Old Madison Pike intersection was that engineering's #1 request. What would it take to get, we got estimated costs, but that's an estimate. What's it gonna take to get more of a realistic cost on what that is? And each of them came back and said, okay, well, we need to get with an engineering team and actually get it designed. So that's what we did, and you'll see in the mid-year budget, we're gonna ask for, from your all standpoint, about $2 million to move from, in essence, this would be general fund to the respective CIP fund, or in many instances, Roger can just move it into, if it's engineering projects, into engineering's budget to be able to get all these projects going forward. So let me go through a couple of those right now. Hughes Road, Old Madison Pike intersection is not just the intersection itself. One of the things in working with engineering that they talked about was the ability to possibly get people out of Dublin Park with a right-hand turn and adding a lane that would go all the way down, to take 2 lanes from there all the way down and make it easier from a traffic standpoint to the Hughes Road intersection. So to get that engineered, we'd look at about $185,000. The Balch and Gooch intersection, if you've been through there, you've seen in many instances, they've already got the black strips down counting cars. There's multiple ways that we might be able to look to do that, about $157,000 to engineer that. Balch and Browns Ferry intersection would be about $160 is our estimate right now. That came in a lot higher than we ever imagined that it would, having us own all of that all that land. So Michael's working right now to get that number brought down to that. Royal Drive Phase 1, a couple of these projects, and the two of them kind of go together from the planning standpoint. The Royal Drive Phase 1 and the Bradley Street improvements are both projects that are economic development projects that are, though, kind of like if-then projects. An example would be at Royal Drive. That's the first part of the extension where we would do the traffic signal at County Line and then work with the developer to bring that road between the two major parcels of land that right now are going to be developed. I guess it's the WAN land and the UAH land. And eventually we'll bring that road all the way through to connect to Royal Drive. But this would be the first phase. One, it does all the traffic lights, and then the other part would be helping with the first piece in working with the developer. But we eventually see that first phase being about $1.3 million. Bradley Street is taking Bradley Street from Sullivan all the way to Short Street to support the 2 major warehouses. The folks that own that have come forward and getting pretty close to bringing us something that says, we're gonna do this with this warehouse and this with this warehouse. That would add, increase the lanes and also give parking, and then a walking path to our current parking lot. Going back, and so both of those are, we put it in there. We need it engineered to have an understanding of what it's going to cost, but those aren't going to go forward until somebody brings us a project that basically says, if you'll do this, then we'll bring that, and it would be economic development related. Portal Lane Ditch is one. Both that and the Mill Road ditch are, you guys have been down Mill Road. You've seen the erosion on that is horrible. We're going to lose that whole thing and then lose Mill Road if we don't get something done right on that one right now. Same thing with Portal Lane over by Shelton Road and the railroad tracks. And I'll go on down. Let's see. The Mill Road sidewalk is one where council's brought that to us from County Line to the trailhead. There is no easy solution there, but we would ask an engineering organization to help us figure that out. Police and fire training facility. Right now, both chiefs are looking to use the old Public Works facility on Celtic, it's not only just storage, they want to build a facility where they can do training. We're going to do a preliminary engineering design to see what that would cost. You go all the way down to the Hexagon 23 upgrade. We figure it's going to be about $200,000 to look on what we've already purchased as far as that building to turn it into our fire station and our police substation. You've already approved the Hexagon Monday night. Sunshine Oaks would be, that number right there would help us to take the land that we have, add a couple of parking lots, a couple of pavilions and some playground to get that utilized right now. A lot of that would stay just free land right now until we could kind of figure out what we wanted to do. And then the Hexagon Complex Phase 2, right now pickleball, Karen asked the question the other night, when we're doing the Hexagon project, does that support economic development? The first piece of that does not. It really just takes care of our citizens. It adds, 12 courts that are in desperate need right now. But we can look to take another portion of that land and build more pickleball courts if we chose to, that would be economic development, where you would have 24 courts, a roof over those, something nice where people would come pretty much on a weekly basis now. So I can go through any of these other projects that you'd like us to, but the bottom line is, in the current budget, there's $2.1 million, and where Roger has kind of identified maybe, I'd say $7 to $9 million that could come from the general fund right now to, be utilized for CIP projects, probably $12 million that's currently in the bond money that, you know, if we decided we could use. We kind of need to know what they're actually gonna cost, and then bring council this list back with some actual numbers or close to actual numbers where you guys could help prioritize what you wanted to do. So I'm gonna be quiet on this first sheet and let you ask any and all questions that you want.
When will the roundabout start, at Browns Ferry and Burgree? That one's been on the plans for a while.
So that's they're engineering, that's budgeted, and you're gonna look to put that out for engineering right now, at the next council meeting, correct? Yeah. That one is in design right now. And that may be on the second sheet, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so I didn't go through those yet. 60% design, yep.
Okay, just for clarification, Mayor, what you're saying is, once we get these numbers, then we'll look at what we're gonna propose for 2024
Correct,
for the
Correct.
budgeting then?
yes,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
But we have to take some money at mid-year to make sure that we even get bids on it.
Right, to do the design, I understand, it's just, at what point do we then decide what we're going forward?
Exactly, yeah, that's our goal, is to get something that's more, and one other thing I'll say with this, that, we're, from a bid standpoint, we wanna make sure we get everything done on the front end to have more solid numbers, to have numbers that we can count on to be the real number, instead of, we hope that's the number when we get there, and then put it out, and then all of a sudden go, oh, well, we said it was gonna be $1 million, but now it's, you know, $1.6 million. It's not to say that you won't ever have some of that slippage, but we wanna have a little bit more precise numbers, and then get them engineered, so if we're ready, you guys say go, they're ready to go, they're ready to bid and go.
Okay, that's fine. What date are we looking for in that?
To have these,
Yeah, to have those numbers.
a lot of these, Michael, you may be able to give an idea how long it takes typically from a standpoint to, if council said tonight, yes, we say that's okay, Roger, move the money, a lot of these would be approved at the next council meeting from an engineering standpoint, to give it to the engineering company to design. What's an estimate of typically how long it would take? I know that's project size related, but 2 months, 4 months?
Well, we've got proposals in hand for the first couple of those, and we're working with a consultant for the third one.
Can you come up here? So I know some folks are gonna wanna know that too, so.
So, excuse me, so we've got proposals, in hand for the first two up there, Old Madison Pike and, Balch and Gooch. And we've got one for the third one. It came in a little bit high, so we're working with the consultant on that one. As far as how long it takes to design them, probably somewhere between 6 and 8 months to get the full design. But we have indicated to those consultants that, you know, we're looking for, some kind of an opinion of the cost in time for the fiscal year 2024 budget. So we're looking, you know, once, they don't have to get to 100% before they can come up with a design, with a approximate cost, I guess is what I'm saying. So we've let them know that we need to get something by July, August, something like that or so that we can know, you know, what to build into the budget for the next year.
Okay, so July, August, we can plan on having a work session.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess, you know, we're gonna continue to work on all of these. I don't expect it to be, you know, Karen, even July again before we talk about these again. I mean, I think we would wanna do an update in a couple of months to let you know where everything stands. You know, if we've had if there's been anything else that's come up, you know, I think economic development sometimes brings something to us that it bends us a little bit more quickly, but we wanna make sure we do that. But I guess I would ask for a verbal council approval, to go ahead and allow Roger to move this money over before mid-year, knowing that at mid-year we'll formalize that.
Can we do that, like Monday night at the, I think that probably needs to be like a motion and that kind of thing, I guess. I don't.
Roger, do you need a formal motion to move that over right now, or would you
When we do the mid-year budget amendment?
Okay.
It would It would only help the design process, because, you know, if we wait 2 more weeks, then we're 2 more weeks down the road, so, you know,
I was more just thinking.
yeah, if we can get them, we're ready to start, you know, getting them started on design whenever you guys are ready.
Okay. I just don't want to be put right up to the deadline to decide 24 budget. I'd like the numbers, you know, well in advance, and that's why I asked the question.
So what you're asking for is, sorry, I skipped after everybody else for that, and I did it myself. What you're asking for is some kind of a verbal commitment that we are agreed that this money needs to be shifted. We'll ratify that at the next council meeting, correct? Or at mid-year budget,
Correct.
correct?
Absolutely.
Which is basically $2,069,000.
Yeah.
Is that right?
That is correct.
And that's the list. Basically, all that pays for is the engineering design to allow them to go forward.
Right.
And if we do that now, they don't have to wait 2 weeks, they can go ahead and
Correct.
start the process. Do we need a formal vote on that, or?
Can't vote tonight.
Okay.
Right, we're not voting, we can't vote tonight.
Head nod.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like the dog in the back.
I do have one more question. For these items that you don't have anything, either a 23 number or a mid-year number, are those just things we're just gonna like sit on, not even talk about?
Which one would that be, Karen?
The fire station and police substation, number 5.
Fire Station 5 and police substation?
Right.
Yeah,
I
so,
mean,
so that's looking way on down the road. You know, right now, we've got to finish 4, you know, to get Fire Station 4 going. This was just one where we don't want to leave that out as far as Fire Station 5. But it is something we wanted to put on here because it's gonna eventually be something, especially with the school coming out more quickly than we thought.
That's my concern. Yeah, I'd want something in
Yeah.
the books ready to go, because once the school started, we want it there when the school opens.
Yeah, we just kinda wanted to put that one there as a placeholder on something that would eventually come, but we're gonna finish 4 before we get to 5. So there's nothing that we would need to do right now. There isn't anything to design right now. Yep.
Can you give us a little, we've got $4 million under Restore Our Roads.
So, that's the $7 million, that's, if you go back, there's 7 major projects that Mayor Battle, has brought forward on the Restore Our Roads, 3 of which directly correlate with Madison. Highway 72 is one. We've already basically, received an A-Trip award for that. That money's still sitting in our bank, but AlDOT had asked us not to spend that money, to hold it, and that would be our portion of the Highway 72 piece.
And that's from Providence to County Line?
Exactly, yep. And in doing that, Connie, when we were at the MPO meeting today with, Commissioner, Chairman McCutcheon coming in, we've asked for AlDOT to have a immediate meeting on that because it's been in 30% design for the last 6 months. We have to get that moving forward. The other 2 projects are the 565, 6-laning between Wall Triana and County Line. And then the other project is, I think they call it Reserve Way, which basically when Madison Boulevard, is going east and goes up over 565 and then comes back to 565, Reserve Way would take that straight on to the Arsenal. For all of our folks that work on the Arsenal, they never have to get back on 565. They could go straight into the Arsenal and get into Gate 9 that way. So those 3 projects are, you know, between what Mayor Battle's looking at right now is probably, if he takes the percentage of our population versus the percentage of other, it's, you know, he's got $30 million in there for Madison's portion. There's no way we can do that. They know that based on what we're doing with this, the interchange that we just did. But I wanted to put something in there, to show that Madison wants to be a team player in supporting that. Obviously, that's something we'd have to be able to do, but I want to have a placeholder to show that we still mean and we'd like to support them in looking at some of those projects. You know, one of the things that happened is Governor Ivey, when she was running, basically said, we're giving you the money for 565 for that portion we just talked about, but then when the AlDOT director comes in, he's looking for a match. So we're still working on that portion of it. But that's what that is a placeholder where if we were to be partners in that, that would be a starting point. No commitment right now, got to figure out what we need to get done, been very open with what we've had to spend to get the full interchange taken care of, and they're well aware of that.
Any word on the TVA and William money?
That's not gonna happen. I can just tell you that right now.
Would you be able to send us a picture of that reserveway? I'm having a hard time kind of picturing that in my mind, how it's
Absolutely.
gonna go to the arsenal.
I can.
Okay, that'd be great, thank you.
It's not to say, so the answer is, have I asked about TVA money? I have. Do I think anything's gonna change on that? No, but I was able to educate, Chairman McCutcheon, on what pots of money are out there. The TVA, the Huntsville Utilities money, and then the legislator money. He at least knows about it now. Now, whether anything else can be done about it's a different story.
We'll keep working on it.
Oh, absolutely. Still ask. Okay, so not ahead of approval and we'll finalize everything? This side? Okay? Good deal.
Okay, and then the question on the first column where you have some estimates, but you're not doing engineering design. We have not, as a council, yet prioritized any of these, whether you're engineering them or not. And so we'll come back later to then, after we have a better estimate of which projects we would prioritize.
Absolutely.
Is that
Right.
everyone's understanding?
Right, so then we'll know what we want to put in the 2024 budget.
Okay,
Exactly, that's right.
all right.
Or 2024 budget, or again, there's bond money, debt service money that's available right now that we could move over and start taking care of some of these immediately. And then again, you see a $46 million price tag. We're also working with the schools to find the right mixture of monies to make sure they have what they need, but we would possibly be able to look to obtain, whether it's a quarter cent or whatever it is, to bond some of these to immediately get some of these projects done more quickly.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I would like to see Hughes done as soon as possible, you
Sure.
know. So if we could move that one up, since it's already going, that would be awesome.
The Hughes one?
The Hughes one, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that, going back, trying to get you guys the best numbers we can. You know, we have a good, and I think I handed it off to most of the finance committee. When we did this in 2017, we had a matrix of how you could score these based on safety, priority, public use. Well, I'll send that out to all you guys so you could look at it. So you could take that, it basically had a multiplier. So if something like this was a safety piece, but also a moving traffic piece, you might give it times 4, times 3, times 2, and then you score it at the end and see what comes up the highest. I'm not saying that matrix is still the most up-to-date, but it's something that it's a great starting point that we as a council mayor can work on to work together to make sure it gives us a good flavor and feel. Something may look good or feel good, and then when you score it out, it's like, that just doesn't score out very well.
Well, I thought it worked real well.
Yeah.
Particularly for me, because I'm data-driven, but the way it was is basically, there was safety, I think there was something how it served the public, and maybe another one. And so if it had all three of those, then it got a multiplier of 3. If it had one, it got a multiplier of 1, et cetera, right? And it basically just lines it up. And, it's 1 to whatever. And then what happens is, instead of it being politicized, hey, this is my district, I want this to happen because of that. I mean, you have to really kind of validate that and have a pretty good argument because it says how it serves this city as a whole, not as a district.
It showed the priority.
Yeah. So I'll get that to you guys tomorrow morning. I'll email it to you, and you can look at it, each one of them. You can, use it as a template, and then, you can put Hughes Road, Old Madison Pike in there, score it out as you see, save as, and do your next one and your next one, and you just start getting a list of those. Also, we'd like some feedback if you see anything needs to be adjusted. As Teddy said, there might be a public safety component in there, and then in each one of the boxes, for a 3, it says this, for a 2, it says this, and then a 1, and then a multiplier based on, the type of project. So, you'll see it, and I think it was a really good starting point for prioritization.
Safety sounds good to me.
Okay, all right. Anything else on CIP? We're good?
No, thank you to all the department heads for a lot of work and helping to put this together. Thanks to Steve to put it together. And then I think thanks to Mary Beth, and I think she gets to come up next.
Okay, economic development update.
My favorite person. Exactly.
Exactly right. All right, we've got a PowerPoint that's getting queued up here. There we go. So, I'm going to review projects that, are on the horizon that are going to be coming up, but also I'm going to take a moment to, talk about stuff that we've accomplished in the last, couple of years, kind of coming out of COVID. So when we're talking about recent projects, I'm referring to projects that have come online in 21 and 2022. So we're just going to go kind of by geographical area, and I'm going to start with Town Madison because that's had the lion's share of development. And it's kind of funny how, I guess, quickly we take for granted something being there. You get used to the Outback Steakhouse being there or name the business. In 2022 alone, we had 12 businesses open in Town Madison, and one Panda Express just opened this year in 2023. So there's been a lot of activity there in a fairly short time, and I know we were waiting for a very long time for it to all happen, so it's nice to see it all happening. And then coming up, of course, the big announcement was BJ's that we got to announce last year. And they've awarded the building and site contract. They should have their contractor out on site, weather permitting, within the next 30 days. They are targeting having an opening in January of 2024 at the latest. They'd like to be open in December of this year. But they're very determined to meet the January date at a minimum. Also under construction right now is the Marriott. They haven't really gone vertical yet, but they're across from J. Alexander's, and if you go by, you'll see the formwork that's happening there. That'll be 208 new hotel rooms. The building that is right here is where Edgar's is going to go, and Edgar's is building not only their building, but also some additional shop space, of about 8,000 to 10,000 additional square feet. So they should be open by this fall at the latest. Cava Grill, which is next to Chipotle, which you could see in the previous picture, they are near open. They're just doing their final improvements inside. Starbucks is going to have their ribbon cutting on March 24th. They're at the corner of Ziert and Town Madison Boulevard. And then we have the Dempsey project. You'll recall the council actually approved this project. It's a mixed-use project right next to the golf driving range. And if you recall, that was approved with 5,000 square feet of commercial space and also some live-work units. So this is the...
Is that the same as the Navarro?
Yes, yes. And this is, they're calling it the Dempsey now. So right here at the end, this is one of the retail spaces, and then these are the live-work units right there along the front. Got to tour the inside of the facility. I guess it was about a week and a half ago. It looks really very nice. And so they're, excuse me?
Where is Edgar's going to be on that map?
Oh, Edgar's is going to be right there. Oh, sorry, wrong map. That part. So do you know where Slim Chickens and Panda Express are? It's right behind them.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah.
A lot of people are asking.
Okay. Well, if you go out to Town Madison now, it's the only, building that's in this condition right now in terms of going vertical, so you can't miss it. So, yes, the Dempsey project was what we referred to as the Navarro project, very nice inside, and they've got an interest list. They're just starting to, do leasing. They don't have their certificate of occupancy just yet, but this is Building A, and they're planning on getting their C of O within the next month or so. So they're very excited, and we'll be inviting council to do a tour of that facility so you can see the commercial space, but also you recall they have a kind of a WeWork space for their residents. So they've got office cubicles and meeting rooms downstairs to facilitate business and so forth. So very nice looking project. And then last slide on Town Madison. On the horizon, we've got Homewood Suites, which was recently approved by the Planning Commission. That'll be 101 hotel rooms. We're expecting them to come forward with their plans in the next month or so, their actual building permit plans. Walk-Ons is a sports bar and, the site work for walk-ons is being done. They haven't come forward with their vertical plans yet, but, we're expecting that within the next month or so. Walk-ons is gonna be located behind Chipotle and Cava Grill. That area where Edgar's walk-ons will be is what we were referring to as the village. We have a Regions Bank approved on Zero Road, and they have not started construction yet. And then finally, we have the Big Chill. The Big Chill will be located next to the baseball stadium, between the baseball stadium and the Marriott Hotel. The Big Chill is a concept that is a combination of indoor and outdoor space. There's a Jumbotron screen, there's an open lawn, which you can see in this picture. So there's restaurant space, there's a small stage screen, so there could be small concerts, very small. And the building that's down here represents the elevation that would be along Stadium Way across from J. Alexander, so that's where this would be located. So it's been renamed the Hub, yeah, sorry, yeah. Yeah, the name changes. Until it's actually built and there's a sign in the building, it could change, 3 more times. So that's, any questions on Town Madison before we move on? Okay.
Just one,
Yes.
it has to do with that entertainment thing. Have all the details been worked out on that, about the open carry and?
Oh, the Arts and Entertainment District.
Right.
Yes, thank you. Yes, all the details have been worked out. We've started receiving the applications from the businesses to participate. We're expecting to get the banners and the stencil from the sign company that we ordered next week or by the 27th. Public Works will then install them. Breland Companies has ordered all the cups. And we've also ordered decals that will go on the front window or door of the businesses that are participating, so it's known that this is a business participating in the district. So we're expecting to have everything in place beginning of March, and we'll do a ribbon cutting and so forth to kick off that district. But yes, we're moving forward.
Okay.
Thank you. So moving to the downtown, just wanted to highlight 3 businesses that have just recently opened, Honest Coffee in the Avenue, Holtz Leather, and then Lanier House, which is on Martin Street. Very excited about all 3 of those. And then downtown, we have Bell House, which is the picture in the lower left. Bell House is on Sullivan Street, hasn't opened yet. It's the former wedding chapel on Sullivan Street, just north of the avenue. And that building has been renovated. We were anticipating it to be a coffee house. However, the owners have decided to make it more of an event space, so people can rent it out for parties, meetings, of things of that nature. So the rendering that you see is what they're going to be, what it's going to be looking like. They're anticipating having it be ready in June or July. And they'll start pushing it out to get bookings in the next month or so. The Humphrey Brothers is also what we refer to as the cigar bar that's at the corner of Main Street and the alley, which is very slow progress, but they move forward. They just were at the Historic Preservation Commission and getting approval for the sign that will be on the facade and also a new front door. I think they've gotten through most of their major delays in terms of what they were ordering. There was definitely some supply chain issues. And so we're told that they will be open, this summer. So that's what we're hoping.
The cigar bar or?
It's food as well. There's food as well as, alcohol.
Like food down below and cigar upstairs?
I think that there will be food above, but we'll see.
Okay.
And then Lemon and Lavender is already downtown. They're in the 106 Main Street, in the Yellow House. They're moving to where Jacqueline's used to be, and that building is undergoing a complete renovation. And so we're hopeful that that building will be finished and they'll be able to move into their new location this spring. And then finally, we have a new building under construction, which is very exciting for downtown. On Martin Street, we have a 3-tenant building. It is being built right behind Madison Station Antiques, kind of next to the old Black Bear parking lot, if you will.
This will have 2 commercial spaces on the ground floor and an office on the upper floor. So we're really appreciative of the investment in that building. The Martin Street building, it doesn't have a name yet. We just refer to it as the Martin Street office building, but, you know, it's possible on the ground floor that we could get a retail tenant. The owner does not want to have any food in the building, so we're hopeful for retail and or office service, that type of use. So you'll see, they haven't started going vertical yet. Right now, it's at the ground stage, underground pummeling and things of that nature.
Do you know how big it is, like?
Yes, square footage wise, it's about 5,000 or so square feet. I might have that number down here. Yeah, it's 5,500 square feet. So, and that's the combination of both floors. Okay? Yeah. Yeah, we're really, Mr. Williams, Ronnie Williams is doing this project. He's the owner of the antique store and always does a very nice job, and we're really appreciative of this investment in downtown.
Would you be able to send us this presentation as well, just so we have it?
Yes, yes, certainly. And then finally, for downtown, Mayor made a reference to one of these, but I wanted to mention the Avenue project. You know, Honest Coffee has opened there. They've also got an ice cream business that's going to be going in called Chill. And then we have some additional commercial space in the Avenue. And I was just talking with Charlie Seeley, who's the developer of that, a few weeks ago, and he's working on a concept for some of that space, which I think will be really very nice for the building. With respect to the Bradley warehouses, you can see the warehouses that the mayor mentioned right here in the corner, and they're right here in this image. So the people who own the former wedding chapel on Sullivan Street also own the warehouses. The warehouses have an interesting setup in that they've got this space in between them, which would be conducive to some like open patio type of arrangement. And so they've been working on some different concepts for a while now, and the thought is that we can improve Bradley Street, similar to Short Street, where we'd have sidewalk on one side, widen it ever so slightly, just because there's not a lot of room there, to be able to make it a better passageway. So with the investment in the former wedding chapel, looking at a project coming on for the warehouse project, that's why we were talking about doing the Bradley Street project as a way to, again, improve downtown. The image that I have on there to the right, this is showing where the street would be, and then this is showing a potential pedestrian path over to the existing parking, which is demarcated with the P. And so there's another warehouse right at the corner of Short Street and Bradley, and that property owner has indicated a willingness to allow for a pedestrian path. So the concept would be similar to the Garner Street alley, you know, where we've got that paved alley that runs from Main Street to Martin Street, to do kind of a paved alley, if you will, from Short Street over to Garner Street, and to allow people to access the parking lot. It's a lot cheaper than trying to put a street all the way through. So that's the concept for Bradley Street and some more of the projects that we anticipate.
I think you'd tell us or give us a long-term lease on that walkway, just in case we get it set up. Maybe.
Well, yeah, we haven't, would we get one, you mean, or just rather than having an easement?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I think as we move forward with design, what we're talking about now is doing, I'll say, enough work to try and get a cost estimate for what all of this project would be. And one of the things we need to figure out is for that walkway area, do we have to acquire the property? Are we able, some of the property is owned by the housing authority, you know, it's just green space. But we have to look at utilities, and, you know, doing any kind of work downtown's a little tricky because it's older and it's small, and not a lot of room to work with. So we've got to figure those things out. Any questions for downtown? Okay, where did I go next? Oh, up to Highway 72. You know, Highway 72, we've got a relatively small amount of frontage, and you basically have a lot of existing space where you get tenant turnover. some recent openings within the last, mostly, well, actually in 2022, we had Luigi's open, which if you haven't been, highly recommend. Phil Sandoval's, obviously, the Korean barbecue place is opened where Rick's used to be, Whataburger, so that's our food. And then in the former, Publix shopping center, we've talked about this before, we've got Urban Market that just opened. It's a furniture store, and then Floor and Decor is coming in, and that's a really significant tenant, not only for the center, but for the city. And they're anticipating completing all of their improvements in May. We're hoping that they'll open in May, but I'm told May, and we'll just see how, everything goes. That's the update for Highway 72. Oh, I have Wood and Cloth up there. They opened in 2020, at the very end of 21. And they're in the center where Dunkin' Donuts is, further west. Any questions, Highway 72? Okay. So this is nearby. We've got the Publix shopping center right here north of us on Hughes Road, and Publix has been open. They opened pre-COVID, but the tenants have been slow to fill in. But I just wanted to briefly mention, it's great that they have filled in. They're providing needed services, and likewise across the street we have Hughes Plaza, which we know underwent a tremendous facelift. Some really great tenants in there. And I think I have one more slide related to this, and that's what's coming for both of these areas. So in the Plaza Boulevard area, we've got a daycare under construction at the corner of Plaza and Kofer. And then there is the Rocket City Armory that's under construction right at the terminus of Kofer. And on Hughes Road, across the way, you recently approved the landscaping agreement for the gas station convenience store at Hughes and Portal. That's the Cowboys Convenience and Fuel. And then Dogtopia, which is a doggy daycare, is going in over at Hughes, the Hughes Plaza. So if you go over now to Hughes Plaza, you'll see they're saying it's under construction, the large space. That's where Dogtopia is going to be. And then they've also just signed a restaurant to their last vacant space, which will be at the end of the building next to the physical therapy. I can't say who it is yet, but there's a restaurant that'll be going in, and so then they'll be all full. So that's been a really successful renovation.
Any hint for the kind of food, like, or can you even say that, like Italian or Mexican or Greek or Mediterranean or?
Good food.
Good food.
I haven't been to the restaurant before, so I can't even say if it's good.
Well,
It's-
No, it's good if it's coming to Madison.
It's good if it's coming to Madison, yeah. I will say it's new to the market. How's that? Okay.
We like that.
Yeah,
I didn't say the type is new to the market, but the restaurant is new to the whole North Alabama.
I love that, something different.
One thing
Yeah.
about the Publix also, and Roger can correct me if I'm wrong, and I know he will, is when we redid that and had an agreement that not only gave them incentive, but also helped with the road, it's been paying back each month. And we estimate by the end of this year, that will be a full payoff. Yeah, and that's probably somewhere in the $400,000 to $450,000 a year range that would then be coming all to the general fund, correct? Yeah, so that's just one more thing in investing, and again, something that, that previous council and Mary Beth had put together, which is paying off.
So this is our Midtown area we're continuing with, and this is Sullivan Madison Boulevard portion of the Midtown area. And there we've got obviously the Circle K under construction on Hughes. We've got MAPCO that's going to be coming at the corner of Sullivan and Madison Boulevard. They assembled multiple parcels there. You see most of those buildings right along on the east side of Sullivan have all been closed. And that's, MAPCO's acquired all of those properties, and we'll be building theirs. And then there's another building, or project that's proposed as well there. And then we have Straybridge Suites Hotel, which is 88 rooms. This is a project that's gone through a couple of different iterations, and they're trying to put the deal together. And talking with their engineer last week, he actually reached out, and it's looking like that project's going to move forward. So that's exciting. That one is, you know, the convalescent home that's on the east side of Sullivan, right past the open space. It's that open space lot, actually, yeah.
Did MAPCO buy the, that title place? There was a place where you could sell your titles?
Yes,
Good.
they have all the way up to, yeah, I'm trying to remember the business that's there.
That can be.
Yeah, to the bank.
Yeah, that's great.
Car wash.
Yeah.
Good deal.
So on the south side of Madison Boulevard, we've also had some, new construction, and I've mostly been focusing on that in my talk. We have, the nice collection of buildings where Terame is. They built 2 buildings, Terame's in one, and then they've got the coffee shop, the eye care place, and then the home interior place. If you've not been there, it's very nice, Refuge Home Interiors. We also, on the, right nearby, we have a new dentist, building, which is the Snow White looking building at the bottom. And then on the other side of Madison Boulevard, we've got, where Bojangles is, this is the dermatology building that was built. It's 20,000 square feet. And the prior council had, approved an agreement with Dr. Rivera, who has the dermatology building, where we assisted with some of the improvements related to traffic control on Madison Boulevard in particular, as long as they brought 2 retail tenants, and then they built out the rest. And so they've done that. The building looks very nice. We're happy to see it going forward. And then coming, there's one more lot next to the skincare place, and that's been approved for an office building. They haven't started construction yet. But also on the south side of Madison Boulevard, we've got 2 other hotels that have been approved. We have the extended stay, which is under construction on Intergraph. That's in the lower right. And then the Fairfield Inn has started construction. That was a project we originally approved back in 2017, and it's taken a very long time for it to come to fruition, but it has. That'll be 87 hotel rooms. That's under construction right next to Furniture Row. They'll start pouring concrete in about 30 days. They haven't gone vertical yet. And then finally, for another hotel, the former Radisson, which is on Madison Boulevard, that's gone through several different iterations as well. We thought it was going to ultimately become an assisted living. However, it's been acquired by somebody who's going to convert it back into a hotel. Don't know what the flag will be yet or exactly how many rooms. That project will come a little bit later. It's got to go through our, be reapproved by us. But we're excited about that because the person who's doing that hotel does other hotels and knows what they're doing, so.
Is that gonna change ownership?
It has, yeah.
That's good.
Yes,
Very good.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it's a good thing for Madison Boulevard.
Very good. That Lux Brew that was the
Uh-huh,
slide before, what, and I missed what you said, what that was.
it's a coffee shop,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
They have food too. Okay.
Pardon?
They have food too, don't they?
They may have like snacky foods, yeah.
It's got a loft, so it has a
Yeah.
loft up there, so it's really nice.
Mhm. Moving up to the Village at Oakland Springs, up along Huntsville Browns Ferry. This is a picture that we just took this week both of them actually. But this picture represents kind of the main entrance into the Village at Oakland Springs. If you've been to Providence and you know what their commercial space on the ground floor with residential above, that's what this is for the Village at Oakland Springs, and it's on both sides. This front project, as we refer to as the Argento project, it's their mixed-use project. They've got 18,000 square feet of commercial space that will go in there. They're expecting 7 to 10 tenants, depending on how, the space gets divided up. They're expecting tenants to come in the summer or fall of this year. They also have 6 live-work units, and those live-work units are represented in the other photograph there in the bottom left. On the horizon for Huntsville Browns Ferry, you'll recall we approved the zone change for what we now call Madison Farms, which is the project to the east. So this is the Village of Oakland Springs. This is the area where they're going to donate the parkland to the city. They're calling that Project Madison Farms. So that's been approved for 30,000 square feet of commercial space. They're just now coming forward with their first phase of the residential. And then Capstone is the project that would be between the two. They still don't have our final approvals, but that would include 8,000 square feet of commercial space. Looking at County Line, a wide variety of businesses that have opened along County Line. The top photo is a new little commercial center called Ashbury Place, right near the Ashbury subdivision. And then below that is just north of the McDonald's, and where we've got a new medical office, and to the lower corner is the corner of Gillespie and Huntsville-Brownsbury Road. That's the oil change place. Chute 360 is behind there. There's also been some new tenants. There's Frida's Cantina that's gone in, John Smith's Subs, which you ate this evening, Pha Nam, Vietnamese restaurant, Super Wings. So again, we get tenant turnover in some of the spaces, but it's nice to see them continuing to be full. And then Alabama Credit Union is also a new construction a little further south. And then along County Line, we have Bank Independent, which you can see from the top photo is well under construction. There's a Circle K that's been approved. There are 2 daycares that are coming on County Line Road. One is under construction at the corner of County Line and Watterson Way. And the other one has been approved for near the Chute 360.
Where's the Circle K going?
The Circle K is going south of the Walgreens, north of the oil change. And then Safe Splash is a swim school, and they are going to be located next to Chute 360 as well. I wanted to talk briefly about the industrial area. We've had quite a bit of development there. These pictures represent projects that have been completed. Discount Divas is actually a distribution warehouse. They're located on Lanier Road, and they occupied an existing space that had been vacant for a while. And they came in 2021. It was they relocated from Huntsville because they had outgrown their previous space. Kenco is the bottom right photograph. They built about an 8,000 square foot warehouse on Madison Boulevard behind an existing small building. Ram Tools is the building on the lower left. They built, I guess it was last year. And then the top photo are warehouses that were built on Westchester. We've had 2 sets of warehouses built. One was a series of 10,000 square foot buildings, and then another one was 2 10,000 square foot buildings and 2 25,000 square foot buildings, all of which are occupied. Some of the buildings are occupied by Now Soccer Academy, which isn't industrial. They were allowed to go in for a 5-year period and then would need to find a new home. And then with respect to additional industrial that's under construction or in the process, obviously our big news was the FedEx distribution facility with 337,000 square feet. You can see that in the upper right, well under construction. We also have 2 25,000 square foot warehouses on Jetplex that are under construction. You can see one of them right here. The Palmer Road is this picture, and they're building 4 11,200 square foot warehouses. And then the last picture in the lower left are the Royal Drive warehouses. That developer has acquired multiple parcels. We've approved phase 1 of 1 parcel, and that phase includes 6 warehouses. They've got a tenant for one of them, and they're working on tenanting the rest. Some of these projects did receive property tax abatements from the IDB or via the IDB or a sales tax abatement, but not a property tax abatement. But that's been a helpful tool in getting that investment. And then my final note up there is on Research Boulevard. Research Boulevard is off of Madison Boulevard. There's a signal there, and if that's where the Intergraph buildings used to be, or the buildings are still there. It was owned by Intergraph. A lot of that's converted over to office, but there's been some vacant space. It is all zoned industrial. and, we've recently had a company invest in acquiring some of the buildings there, re-tenanting or tenanting the buildings that were vacant, and then they're also looking to construct some new buildings, in the next 2 to 5 years. So that's really, nice to see that investment in that area. And then just kind of a miscellaneous for other parts of the city. We've had Creme Brulee open on Waltriana, Black Dog, on Old Madison Pike. Madison Ballroom Dance Studio is at the corner of Westchester and Dublin. They were in a smaller space, and they've built a new 6,000 square foot building, as a phase 1, and then they have plans to expand as well. So if you need to get some dancing lessons, they're up and running now. Creekstone Academy is another daycare. We've had a slew of daycares. We've probably had about 6 daycares come through for approval in the last 2 years. Creekstone Academy has been approved for Palmer Road. The Learning Zone is another daycare approved at the corner of Balch and Gillespie. And in fact, they got another one approved on Zeret Road at the city limit. We've also had some medical office approved. The one in Arlington is just an example. And then Carillion Oaks is the memory care. You'll recall the zone change that went through up on Slaughter Road for 48 beds, and so they're moving forward. And then lastly, just a summary on the numbers. So when we look at 21 and 22, this shows you the number of new tenants in existing and new construction that were approved. We see a little bit of a jump in 2022. Home occupations, we always have a lot of those, remain fairly steady. But a nice number of new businesses, given all of the challenges people are facing with supply chain and COVID and finding labor and that type of thing. In terms of the square footage, for the projects that we were just talking about 275,000 square feet, and about half of that was in town Madison. We've got another 269,000 square feet that has been approved or is under construction. And in terms of the industrial, you can see the numbers there, 166,000 constructed, and we've got 490 in the works. Of course, the lion's share of that is with the FedEx building. 296 hotel rooms have been constructed. Those are the ones in town Madison, and we've got another 592 that are approved. So we'll have a total of 888 new hotel rooms when everything comes online. So good times, busy, and we appreciate all the support. Any questions?
That's all the businesses?
That's it.
Not sure when you sleep.
We have a great team.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mary Beth, for that update. And one final thing, council, as you know, we're streaming this work session this evening. If you are inclined to archive the work session, we would need to add a resolution to our next council meeting authorizing that. I want to go ahead and open that up for discussion if anybody have any.
I would like to see this archived.
I am all for it.
Okay, great.
Are we gonna archive all of them, or just this one? I mean,
Well, that's the next discussion point. If we like streaming our work sessions, I know we've had members of the public ask for streaming. Our city attorney has approached me about amending our current streaming archiving resolution so that it would encompass work sessions if you all are willing.
I'm willing.
Or if you want to continue to take it on a case-by-case basis, we can do that as well.
There was one point.
Case by case. I don't like being at a table at a work session. I don't like this for work session, for me personally.
Well, for tonight it was
It
good
can't be streamed,
because,
but I don't like this.
for tonight it was good because we had so many presentations.
Yeah, I'm saying,
You know, that was really good. But it was interesting because you had somebody who needed to find out how they could log on, and it's not as easy to do it if it's not already an archived thing. It was much more difficult to find out where we were going to be tonight. So for that, it is good that if we also archive this, but just a thought.
Okay. So we don't have.
So it sounds like we want to do this one for
Consensus, yes.
sure,
this one.
but then we would want to take the rest of them on a case-by-case basis.
Just just wanna see and get the feedback and see what people say. Okay? All right, so I'll have our city attorney prepare a resolution for archiving, and then they'll, wait for the next meeting before we can have this available, though, for that to be approved. Are there any other announcements or anything from anyone else? All right, thank you all so much. Thank you for the great presentations tonight, and we are adjourned.